Hello, welcome. Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to sharing the love that we are with Stephen Bodian. Beautiful to see some of the familiar faces and some of the new faces as well. Yeah. I'm Sarah, for those who don't know me. I'm your open circle host. I'm the person you want to write to if you have any practical questions. And just to let you know, I'll be recording the session and I'm only recording Stephen's video. So your voice may be recorded, but your image will not be recorded. And if you ask or share on camera. Yeah, we have a raise hand function. Don't know if we need it. I think we can probably just raise our hand like this. But if you like, you can also use the raise hand button. You can find the button at the very bottom of the list of names of participants. So if you click on participants at the bottom of Zoom, there will be a list popping up, and at the bottom of that list, there will be a raise hand function. You can use it. And I think that's all I have to say. So I leave you with Stephen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all today. Welcome to Satsang. So today, as Rumi says, the subject today will be love. We'll begin with a little guided meditation, as we always do when I present. And then I'll speak a little about this subject, which pretty much impossible to speak about, but I'll offer some pointers. And then we'll have discussion, as always, an opportunity to ask any questions, share your insights, have a dialogue, okay? So just begin then by being comfortable and closing your eyes. Letting your body settle. And I think you'll find it better if your eyes are closed, more helpful. And let go of any particular meditation technique you generally do, and just let my words guide you. Okay. So begin by sensing into your body, feeling your connection with the ground, with the earth. And with each exhalation, allow yourself to just let go more and more. Let go of any holding, any doing, any efforting, any defending or protecting. You don't have to hold yourself up. You don't have to hold yourself together. You can let yourself fall apart, fall open. So much of the time we're trying to keep ourselves together, as the expression goes. So for now, you can just give up the effort, let it go. Let yourself be as you are. There can be such a relief in not having to do anything anymore. just letting be. And as you continue to let go more and more, and let yourself rest back and feel held by something greater than yourself, something that you can't touch, can't identify. You already have had some experience of your true nature. This is your true nature, consciousness, awakened awareness. Just let yourself rest back and feel held, feel supported. Resting in the arms of awareness. This is our essential nature, limitless, all-pervasive presence. It's always available, never not here. So let yourself feel welcomed, embraced by this limitless presence. And as you keep letting go, you may find that the sense of yourself as a separate someone just dissolves into limitless presence, boundless presence. Just be this openness, no boundary, no limit, welcoming what is. As you allow yourself to be this openness, allow whatever has not been embraced, has not been welcomed, to be welcomed into this openness. All the feelings, all the thoughts, all the identities, whatever has not been embraced, has been kept out of the light, has been suppressed, has been held at arm's length and rejected. Welcome it into the openness. Welcome the fullness of who you are and all your humanness. All the difficulties, all the conflicts, all the challenges, all welcome here. Even the most difficult, challenging emotions, identities, memories are welcome here. Whatever arises, you can say, I see you, I welcome you. I embrace you. No divisions. No gaps. And even the division or gap between you and others, inside and outside, just let it dissolve. Embracing the whole, embracing all of it, the messy, complex, precious human condition at every level. Welcoming not only your own suffering, your own difficulty, but everyone's difficulty. The human condition, the suffering, the challenges that we all share. Welcoming it all into the fullness the openness that we are. Everything that arises returns to its home ground as presence, unconditional presence. Ultimately, this welcoming requires no effort, no doing. It is what you are. This open, boundless presence is our home ground, our natural state. Just be it. Now just let yourself rest for a few minutes in this silent, open presence. Nothing to do, nothing left out. Okay. Welcome again, everyone. Would anyone like to share about your experience of the meditation, or any questions that it evoked before I say a few things? These simple meditations can be quite evocative, I would say. Yeah. Okay. Say, excuse me, a few things. Yeah, I think we often have the belief that love is a certain kind of emotion, you know? Love as opposed to hate or dislike, a certain feeling in the heart, and it can be, of course. But I would say at a deeper level, love is openness, is welcoming, without judgment, without agenda, without needing things to be a certain way. It's just the allowing, welcoming of life as it is. That's Byron Katie likes to say, loving what is. Feelings like love, compassion, may come and go, but even deeper is this presence, this non-dual presence that doesn't attach to a certain idea of how things should be, you know. And most of us didn't get this quality of love growing up. We generally, even with loving parents, may get the sense that we're expected to be a certain way, right? To live up to expectations, to some idea of how we're supposed to be. And of course, there can be love in that. And of course, at the same time, there are ideas about what we should become, how we should be conditioned, wanting to shape us in a certain way. That is a love that's conditional, right? But the love we're talking about here is the love for reality as it is, not needing it to be different in any way. I remember when I'm fond of the movie, the music of Deva Premal, and one of her albums is called "Love Is Space." I remember reading that and thinking, yeah, that's beautiful. Love is space, you know, the space to be. And so this is not something we can or should produce, manufacture. Again, it is what we are. It is our natural state. It's something that we can return to. And of course, it's what awakening is about. We often think of awakening as a kind of waking up into a quality of awareness, which is not attached to the contents, which is free of the contents of awareness, the subject free of the object, pure primordial awareness. But at the same time, what we're waking up into is this unconditional love, because awareness, how shall I say, the trajectory of awakening generally is that we first wake up out of our identification with form, right? Our identification with being this particular person in this particular body mind with this particular history and these particular wants and needs and agenda, life agenda. And we awaken to being awareness, free of any manifestation, right? Which is beautiful and which is crucial, necessary. But the full fruition of awakening is the returning of awareness back toward its expressions in form, toward manifestation, and embracing through this open-hearted quality everything that arises. So once we've discovered ourselves as awareness, it's just the beginning of the embodiment of awareness, which is meeting each moment intimately, just as it is, and embracing it. Yeah. And this is often, can be a lifelong journey of welcoming aspects of ourselves that may have been rejected, suppressed, repressed, seen as unwanted, as ugly, as dark, shadow, it's often called, right? So all of this is welcome here. We all know the Rumi's great poem, The Guest House. So to be that welcoming host, welcoming all the different qualities and aspects of ourselves. Huh? What seems to happen is the more awake we become, the more the shadow, parts of us that haven't been recognized, welcomed, redeemed, we could say, come forward to be seen and welcomed. Right? It's almost like the more we expand into the light of awareness, the more those places that have been in the shadow, have been in the darkness, emerge to be embraced, right? To be included in the fullness of what we are. I often say that nondual means nothing left out, right? And love leaves out nothing in its embrace. Love is all embracing. It doesn't reject. Now we're talking again about love with a capital L, right? Love is our true nature. See, our true nature, our essential nature as awake awareness, we could say, is awake, right? It's open, it's empty of any identity, any landing place, any localization, and it's loving, it's embracing, it's welcoming. These are aspects or qualities of what we really are, our true nature, our natural state. Huh? So the trajectory of awakening, the embodying of awakening, invites us, calls on us to welcome and to redeem and to welcome home, you could say, all these parts that have been hiding in the shadows. And that is the work of love, you know. I mean, you see that in someone like Jesus, right? A great saint and sage like Jesus, who welcomed the lepers and the prostitutes and the seemingly unholy and rejected of society, and bathed their feet or held them in his arms. You know, that's the love that we are, huh? Embraces everything. It's basically a saying yes to what is, and this too, and this too. Yes, the rage. Yes, the terror. Yes, the trauma. Yes, the confusion. All of this is welcome here. And in this time right now, because of social distancing and lockdowns and things, I think we're being especially called upon to find that and connect with that deeper ground of love, because our usual ways of getting love may not be as available as they usually are, right? So we're being called on then to fall back into, as we did in that meditation, that deeper ground of welcoming, of love, of openness. And if we really open in that way, we may find ourselves also welcoming not only our own suffering, our own challenges, but opening to the collective, in a way that is not overwhelming or too much for us to bear, right? But when we really rest back into the openness, this openness is not personal. We're not taking this suffering upon ourselves. We're not taking it into the personal heart as if I need to somehow bear this for others and do something about it. We're taking it into the boundless openness, the boundless heart that we are, which by its very nature is capable of embracing all the suffering, all the difficulty, all the challenges, And then we allow ourselves to feel the sadness for those who are suffering right now, or always suffering, but especially right now, these days, it's so evident, so prevalent. So we may allow ourselves to feel the sadness that so many of us have to wear masks on the street and stay away from our loved ones, to feel the heartbreak or distancing, while at the same time knowing that the heart we really are can never break. It's indestructible. And yet, at a personal level, we can allow in the heartbreak. Those are not contradictory. The paradox of being a human being and at the same time boundless awareness, open-hearted awareness. So right now, the usual, as I've talked about a number of times, the usual structures, the usual grounds that we come to rely on are falling away, right? And we're asked to find this deeper ground, deeper ground of love, to come back to rest again and again in this welcoming, in this openness, to even be able to see, which is in a sense the ultimate expression of love, the perfection of what it is, as it is. Life is as it is. It can't be otherwise. It is what it is. It may change into something else. We can't predict or know or control what it's going to change into. So in the moment, what we're called upon to do is to welcome what is, even this heartbreak, even this loss, even this difficulty, as well as, of course, the beauty, the love of being itself. Each moment is unique, precious beyond compare, and full of a blend, a bouquet of all kinds of aromas of beauty and loss and love and sadness, fear and bliss. So rather than trying to attach to a certain state, a certain emotion, as some spiritual teachings might recommend that you do, this approach that we're engaging in is about being the welcoming. See, once you can know yourself as the welcoming, it really doesn't matter anymore what the welcoming. The welcoming itself is its own fruition, its own reward. Whether things change or they don't, there's a deeper ground where everything is always okay. It's always perfect and complete, just as it is. And this is what we're being invited to realize by the circumstances that we're facing now and are always facing in human life. Huh? So there's a kind of alchemy to this, you could say. In the welcoming, simply in the welcoming, in the saying yes, in the openness, in the receiving of what is as it is, a transformation will often take place. The weight of it is relieved. Everything is lightened and freed of its heaviness, of the story that attaches to it, and can then come to rest in this home ground of awareness. I was talking with a friend the other day about, emotions, feelings, apparently have a natural, what would you call it, a trajectory of between 45 and 90 seconds. It arises, it's felt, and it resolves back into awareness. But then if we attach to it, if we tell a story about it, then it can be perpetuated indefinitely. So when we rest as this welcoming, as this openness, feelings are allowed to naturally resolve back into awareness. They don't hang around. They don't grip us. They don't weigh us down. So that is the alchemy of the welcoming. Even though we welcome it as it is, somehow in the welcoming, it's transformed. Of course, if we have that as an agenda, then we get into trouble. We have to really welcome it as it is, whether or not it changes. So that's a few thoughts on love. Again, love is one way of talking about our essential nature, our natural state. Not something we manufacture or produce. And I have great respect for the exercises in which you generate loving kindness for oneself and others, or the tangled practice that I talked about in the description, where you breathe in the suffering and breathe out ease of being. But even beyond those practices, which at a relative level can be very beautiful, we can discover ourselves as this love, which then requires no effort on our part, except remembering to come home. So open it up to you for your insights, thoughts, questions. Yeah, Keith.
Thank you, Stephen. This is really resonating with me. Here in California, we're having an upsurge, uptick in COVID, pretty big. And I've become aware recently of the stages I've gone through, the stages for me in accepting the masking phenomenon.
Right.
Even when I was wearing a mask at first, I would look out at the situation, get out of the car to go into the grocery. And I would see other masked people. And I hadn't fully cognized what the disparity was. But I think we will all relate to the fact that we are used to, especially to the degree that we've become self-exploration oriented and context oriented. It's not only the words we listen to, but getting a sense of someone's face tells us a lot about a situation. The voice, if someone says, "How are you?" And their whole face says, "How are you?" The eyes, the smile. But if someone says, "Well, how are you?" and it's not congruent with that, or "I wish you well," but it's not congruent. So I was aware that the seeing at my end hadn't changed, but the seen at the other end was, I can't see, I can only see this person's face. So they were other. They were just suddenly other. And I mean, I was aware, wow, you're wearing a mask. Criminals wear masks. I don't trust you. I mean, so anyway, what's happened lately, and it was just yesterday, a real transitional thing. I got out of my car at my grocery, turned around, saw a young man cleaning off the grocery carts with the sanitizer, and he just turned and looked in my direction. I saw a masked man, and something had changed. It wasn't an instantaneous aha, but it was like I was less disconnected, or I was connected. I was no longer aware of what I couldn't see in this man's face. I saw a face with a mask, and that mask and my mask connected us. So
yeah, beautiful.
I don't hope that we have masks on forever, but I think we're going to have them on a lot longer than we'd like, even when things get back to normal. Quote normal. What is normal? There's a conversation. So I don't know what's going to be the case ongoing, but there was a transition to seeing a person in a mask as connecting me in presence.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful. And connecting beyond the mask, because there are still the eyes, and we can meet in the eyes, right? Even though we can't smile the way we're smiling now. Of course, it's so lovely to see this group of people without masks. So welcome. But be able to see your smiley faces, it's such a joy. But we can connect through the eyes and through the heart, of course, because the heart goes beyond the face to just welcoming this other person as our very own self, and the sadness that we all share, and having to be separate in this way at a relative level. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I have a feeling that you just pinpointed for me. Before the mask, the eyes would be part of it, but that would be congruent with the smile and the gesture and the sense of ease. Well, I believe what's happening now is there's a greater attention here to the eyes. I'm out. In other words, I see someone with everything covered except the eyes. Well, I'm probably getting a little more perceptive about, are those angry eyes or are they friendly eyes? Whereas before, it was part of a whole facial. So anyway,
Sure.
I find I'm noticing eyes that don't seem unfriendly, which it might be another way of saying, I sense friendship in those eyes, or I don't sense anything other than that. So.
Right, yeah, beautiful, yeah. And then of course it invites us to tune into beyond the visual, to that deeper level in which we attune to one another at some subliminal, intuitive heart level, that isn't dependent on seeing. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Keith. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, someone else. Yeah, Tamara. Hi there.
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, that during the meditation, I sort of relaxed back into realizing I had such a day of judging other people yesterday. I drove up to Colorado and there was nobody wearing masks. I was the lone mask wearer in every interaction that I had. And I was driving back and noticed a fire starting on a hillside. There was lightning all day, and so I noticed a fire. And I was in an area where there was no cell service, and so I pulled into somebody's house. I'm going to close this door because my dog is being loud. There was a wedding party going on, and there was a crowd of people drinking and not wearing masks. And I had judgment about that, and I said, if there's a landline, somebody should call in this fire that's just starting, which was right there. It was getting quite large. And nobody seemed concerned about this fire on the hillside. They were like, well, we can't call, and back to our drinking. And I was getting more and more upset about this lack of just awareness and presence and caring. And, you know, everybody seemed so asleep. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, everybody's so unconscious, and it just sort of spiraled. And just in our meditation, I realized that this is a learned, I have a narcissist parent, and this learned superior, inferior mindset is so commonplace for me that's where I went. I went to separation instead of, you know, my regret is that I wasn't a present presence. Instead, I was this judgment that separated and made somebody else lesser than. And so that was the experience I just had in our meditation, that, oh, it's just so automatic for me to separate, to instead of welcoming them as myself, or, you know, anyway, that it's.
And that's what's so painful, is that we separate ourselves from love. We separate ourselves from who we are. You know, of course, we separate ourselves from the other person, other people, but we're separating ourselves, cutting ourselves off from who we are. And I think that's what's so painful about it, ultimately.
Yeah, it was just this spiraling of, and even that just felt so familiar, this sort of like disappointment with, you know, like this whole story I had going on. And yeah, it's like you said, it's a continuous, it could be a lifelong journey for me. I don't know how long I'll do that for, but so
you thought, yeah, you know, and with things like this, you know, we get to see it sooner and sooner, right? Maybe next time you'll see it halfway through the day. You know, but it sounds like you identified it in a new way. You could see the dynamic and where it came from. It's sort of like a light really went on, illuminated this whole pattern. Once that happens, it's hard to not see it again, right? So likely next time it comes up, you'll catch it quicker. You know? Becomes more familiar. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. Yeah. Someone else, some new faces of people I haven't met before. Please feel welcome to share or ask. Of course, of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
This is Lawrence.
Lawrence, hi Lawrence.
Hi. Well, you mentioned that the topic is love, and for me that's a really that's a really good thing to be talking about. My experience of it at the moment is that it has a kind of ebb and flow to it. That there are times when when I feel it very, very clearly, and there are a lot of times when there's just kind of this underlying feeling of, goodwill, and whoever I run across, just kind of a friendly, wanting the best for them, and that kind of feeling. And then under stress, it can go away. And then there's just that stressed out feeling.
Right.
It just seems to have this kind of scale that it goes up and down the scale all the time.
Right.
And there are other times when, it gets very intense. They're very intense experiences, like during meditation, where it almost has almost an addictive quality. Like, I just want more of this. So what I wanted to ask you about, there is this thing about the opposites. What I notice is that if I have a very intense experience of love, usually after a while, I will also have a very intense experience of fear or, terror or something. And it's like going from one extreme to the opposite. And sometimes I think it's, I almost want to make it into a project to have the good experience, but not have to experience the opposite. So I just put that out there.
Well, that's why that's a very good point, Lawrence. Thank you for mentioning that. And that's why I emphasize that love is not really, the love that we're talking about is not an emotion. Love versus hate, or love versus dislike, or fear, or whatever. That it's really the welcoming of all emotions, right? So love in that instance would be that which welcomes, allows, right? Whatever's arising, the love, the fear, the hate, all of that is content, right? Which is, as content always does, constantly changing, right? And we have no control over the changes. Sometimes we wake up feeling great, sometimes we wake up feeling terrible, sometimes we feel love, sometimes, it's constantly changing. But what embraces it all, right? What is undisturbed by it all, welcomes it all, says yes to it all. That's the love. That's the deeper ground of love. So when you notice these changes, from one state to another, remember that the deeper ground is not a state. It's our natural condition beyond all states, which welcomes all states just as they are. Okay?
Yes. I think that's a wonderful point, that ultimately welcoming whatever is here is the pure acceptance. I just find that sometimes it's hard to welcome things that are not comfortable. Like fear.
They're not comfortable. Yeah, it's always
uncomfortable feeling, like fear.
Yeah, it's always hard to welcome what's uncomfortable. By its nature, of course. Yeah.
So, there are times when I'm not feeling loving acceptance for what's present.
Right.
And I'm not sure.
But again, that's a feeling. That's a feeling. And there is something deeper than that. Okay? Which is not a feeling. See, again, we tend to think of loving acceptance as a certain quality of feeling, right? And we're not talking about a feeling here, you know. It's deeper than a feeling. It's the ground in which all feelings arise. And again, awakening is about discovering that, you know, that which doesn't change, that which is undisturbed, right? That which embraces everything as it is. It's not something that we can do, like a state is something we could do. We could change our state. We're feeling, you know, sad. We can perk ourselves up, you know. But this is beyond all states and is undisturbed by all states. You know, you could call it peace. Is another way to talk about it. Stillness, silence. But love is also one of the qualities, you know, because love welcomes what is, you know. Yeah. So again, it's not something you can do, which is frustrating for the mind. I would like, hey, that's great. I'm glad to hear about that. I wonder how I can do that. Right? But you can't do it. See? You can only be it. It's that which is prior to all experience. Right?
Well, I noticed that the mind kind of likes the idea of creating a project,
yes,
of being accepting. And
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, that sometimes comes in too, that
That's
the
right.
mind wants to fix it.
That's right. It's endless. That's an endless project, right? The endless self-improvement project.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is not about self-improvement, fortunately. Thank God. What a relief, right?
Yes.
We don't have to improve ourselves. We can just be how we are. That's great. And that's what love is. You can just be how you are. It's not psychological acceptance. In other words, psychological acceptance takes some effort. Well, I'm gonna have to accept that, you know. It's, you know, acceptance as just simply the nature of awareness itself. So, yeah, it's an invitation to discover this deeper ground, to awaken to it. Because it's always present, it's always available, can't be manufactured. Again, that would be a self-improvement project. That would be a state. States, you can manufacture them. You can do loving kindness meditation, you can do compassion meditation, you can manufacture these different states. But that's not what we're talking about. In Zen, that's called putting another head on top of your own. Yeah? You want to go back to your original head, your original face, you know? And that can only be discovered, awakened to. It can't be practiced or done. Does that make sense?
Yes. I know exactly what you mean, and that there's kind of a falling back into just
That's right.
the
That's right.
pure being present with it. And sometimes the mind wants to intervene, and other times it's okay. I mean, what I notice is that when things are just going along on a kind of an even keel and the day is just kind of sliding by, you know, everything's fine. There's nothing terribly stressful, and it's easy to just be present and let it be as it is. And then here and there, something will come up. And then the sense of being present with it, for me anyway, can sometimes get a little bit submerged.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's fine. That's natural. Not something to be concerned about or feel you have to change. Accept that too. Welcome that too. That's the way it is for us human beings. You know, we do seem to cycle in and out of openness.
So there's an acceptance of there's a kind of fluctuation of the awareness of pure presence, And
yeah, at a relative level. At the absolute level, you know, it never wavers. It's always there and present. What happens is the awareness goes in and out of it, right?
yes,
You know, the awareness here, this particular consciousness here, seems to go in and out of it.
yes,
Awareness itself, though, the ground of awareness itself, doesn't go anywhere. You know?
it doesn't fluctuate.
It doesn't fluctuate.
Just
Doesn't fluctuate.
our,
Which is great news, because you can always return to it. You say, you don't have to go looking for it. You know, you don't have to go searching for it, struggling to regain it. You can know that if you just let go, fall back, you will come to rest in what you are. See?
yes,
What a relief, how reassuring that is to know that, see? As opposed to, you know, the usual self-improvement or meditative approach, which, oh, no, I got to meditate in order to get back to that, you know, samadhi that I was in at some point. You know, mindfulness, I got to get back to being mindful. I got to reproduce that mindful state that I had because, oh my gosh, you know, it's like relax, let go, and just trust that awareness is always already present.
so this, I mean, this thing about the opposites really exist in the relative field.
That's right.
And I believe that's what the point that you made.
That's right.
Is where we experience the opposites. And of course, then underlying it is just being the experience.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they exist in the realm of duality. And in the realm of duality, there are always opposites, you know, in the relative realm. And that's fine. I mean, you know, hot and cold, I mean, you know, up and down. I mean, this is how our lives function in the relative world. But beyond that is that which doesn't come and go, does not fluctuate, has no opposite. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lawrence. Great question. Thanks so much. Yeah, Carrie. Hi, Carrie. You want to unmute yourself, or maybe Sarah can unmute you. Can you? Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Oh, hi. Something that was said a couple minutes ago, just
I can't hear you so well. Can you get a little closer to the mic?
sure. Does that help?
That's better. Thanks.
Better? Okay. Something that was said a couple minutes ago just put me in this place. I'm aware sometimes of how much I judge myself. And I guess the other day I caught that in the framing of self-rejection. And as I was just listening, there's just such this risk involved in not maintaining this self-rejection. And
A risk. Say more about that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, that's all on the, you know, in the mind of, you know, but in this life, there's just it feels like a big risk in thinking I'm okay, or, you know.
Oh, so how is that risky? Say a little more about that. Very interesting.
Well, the image of like a whack-a-mole, you know, at a carnival where you try to hit them, you know, you hit these moles. That's what came up. That if I rose like the mole, I would be whacked down.
And perhaps you had that experience when you were young.
Yeah, I would suppose so. And then
you don't want to be seen, you don't want to expand, you don't want to stand out.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, to the point where now I'm the only one doing it to myself. You know, I don't believe
Exactly.
you know, and so there's so much sadness under that. There's this, I mean, there's kind of the fear of the risk and then the sadness.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
And it kind of goes down. It's been like in my heart area and up in my throat, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of going down more from my heart.
So just breathe and just welcome it. Just be with it. Breathing and welcoming it. Just be with it as it is. You don't have to get rid of it. Feelings are understandable. They're natural, and just be with them. In a tender way, welcoming way.
Then
Yeah.
the words that are there are like self-denial, which is different, I think, than self-rejection. You know, different flavor of the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm afraid of letting myself stand out because I might get hurt.
There's just some big importance about judging myself first.
Right, right. Keeping yourself in line. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Not relaxing into.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And is it true now that if you let yourself relax into just being yourself and express yourself in a more natural way, that you would be whacked down? Is that true in your life right now?
Well, probably no, but I tell myself that.
Right. Okay.
Not consciously so much, but as I reflect on it, it's like, well, that's still my operating system.
Right.
So,
right. So you might question those assumptions a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, what would it be like if I just let myself go a little bit? Would I really, and just let those boundaries start loosening, if not dissolving, and see what happens, As you discover that you're not, whacked down, then you may feel more comfortable, being yourself more.
Yeah, actually, I've been having experiences of that, actually. So
yeah, great.
It's an odd time though, too. I mean, I go to work still out in the world, but yeah, but the relating actually one-to-one with people is much less, and but I have been staying with myself more and speaking up more. Actually,
terrific. There you go. There you go. Little by little, those boundaries. Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah, just continue to, little by little, we start just, our shape starts to change. We start expanding more. We start coming more into the fullness of our being, of who we are.
Yeah.
But just continue to allow that. Yeah.
I've got some decisions to make about a project that I want to do at my home, and I guess I'm feeling today like the bubbles that want to come up and be heard, and how allowing them, is allowing myself, is and that I just have some I want to say some things to do, but I just have some being to do.
Some listening, it sounds like, to do. to listen to those little bubbles, listen to those parts of yourself. Yeah. And again, that's love. When we really listen, when we let those parts of ourselves express themselves without judgment, just, a tender listening presence. And then from that emerges some clear sense of what to do next. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful, Carrie. Thank you for sharing that. And I know we all can relate to that. All these little parts of ourselves that, have never really been heard, fully welcomed into awareness and allowed to be themselves. You can't be that way. You shouldn't talk that way. What's wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Is one of the classic phrases that shuts people down, shuts us down as children. So, yeah. Someone else wanted to share or ask. There's anything to do, simply to be with our experience just as it is. Sometimes this is called being intimate with. It's even more simply just to be with. So little of the time are we actually just with our experience. We're usually resisting it, fighting against it, trying to argue ourselves out of it, trying to change it. So as we sit quietly together, which seems to be what's happening, just whatever arises, just again, just let it be. Sometimes being with a group like this can really quicken and deepen our connection with presence, the silent presence. It's the background of all experience. We can enjoy just simply being together. It has a power of its own. That's why we do satsang, really. It means being together in truth.
Did I say something?
Yes, who's that?
Anita.
Hi, Anita. Let me see. Where are you? There you are. Hi there.
Hi. I'm thinking about COVID-19 like everybody in the world is.
Of course.
And one of the things I find difficult is imagining my future. And it's, for the longest time, I felt like I knew the trajectory of where I was going.
Right.
And I no longer know that.
Wow.
And, I have projects, I have things that I'm doing that I like to do, but the uncertainty of the big uncertainty, I mean, life in general before COVID had uncertainty, but this one's a big one. I really can't see beyond September, October, because that's when my projects run out.
Right.
It's an interesting way to live. It's interesting.
Right. Interesting is a good word.
Yeah, it's I haven't felt this. Maybe when I was younger and confused in a big way, but not in a long time. And so it's
Right.
I'm just I don't know where I'm going with it, but it's just I'm very aware of it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
No, absolutely. I think that's
yeah. Go ahead. I don't know what to do with it.
absolutely, yeah. And I've talked about this before as the groundlessness. One of the aspects, one of the teachings of COVID is the groundlessness, right? What we thought was our ground, in so many ways, the bottom line of our life, the trajectory, the unfolding. I could rely on this and this and this. I had this job and I had these resources and I had these projects and, I knew what was going to happen next. All of that seems to be dissolving, right? Or at least reorganizing and reorchestrating. And we don't know what the landscape is going to be. So that pulls the rug out from us, under us, right?
Yep.
And so that is a great opportunity spiritually. At a relative worldly level, it's really frustrating and scary, right? But at a spiritual level, it's good news because it invites us to find that deeper ground again, which is not disturbed by whether we're succeeding or failing or getting ahead and getting the projects done or not, There's something deeper there, that which will be undisturbed even in the moment of death, right? That's what we want to discover because, we're gradually dying and eventually we're going to die the big one, right? What remains, right? What is undisturbed, right? What survives our death? What is before our birth and beyond our death. That's what we're invited to discover now, right? So COVID is like a little death, right? It may seem pretty big right now, but it's certainly not as big as the big one, right?
No.
So it's an invitation, yeah, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. And we're all going through it. I mean, if one thing we can certainly find is commonality, right? Fellow feeling in the midst of this. We're all facing this. Some more than others, but pretty much everyone. I have a few friends who are retired and got their house and their social security, and nothing's going to change for them unless they get sick. But most of the people I know are working, and their projects are dependent on this and that, and everything is in flux, disorienting. Yeah. So what is undisturbed? Because life is always going to provide us with uncertainty and constant change. This is the Buddhas. Remember the Buddha? That guy, who said everything is constantly changing? Here we are, impermanence, big time. Someone else? Someone who hasn't spoken? I'd love to hear from you. About 5 more minutes. Let's just sit quietly for these final minutes. We already are, of course, but I'll just officially declare this final period here, some time to just be together and integrate what we've heard, and just rest in presence. Okay, thank you, everyone. Lovely to be together again. And feel free to check out my website for future events. I'm going to take the month of August off and start again in September, offering the satsang again through Open Circle, and then other activities, including the School for Awakening, which begins again next January. So you may check it out when you feel like it. And thank you so much for being together. And thank you, Sarah, as well, for hosting.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I hope to see you soon again online. We have beautiful things coming up at Open Circle. So I wanted to invite you also for a workshop tomorrow. There is a 4-hour workshop with Ticho, deep dive into awakening and healing. Really, really beautiful work. So you might enjoy that as well. We have a lot of different courses and events coming up the next days. So the choice is very, very large. Hope you find something you will like. And for now, that's all. Thank you so much for being here. You're welcome to unmute yourselves and say goodbye. Say thank you if you feel like. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.